Welcome to If I Did It. The UFC may be dark and full of kerfuffles, but fear not. Eugene is a sword in the darkness. Kid Nate is a watcher on the walls. We are the shield that guards the PR realms of MMA, and now our show begins. Welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze the PR kerfuffles of the MMA world and abroad. Joining us, as always, is Kid Nate of Bloody Elbow, and Eugene S. Robinson of Aussie.com, and author of Fight. Everything you always want to know about fighting, but we're afraid to get your
Oh man! Oh man!
You just showing off at first. Now he's just falling apart.
You just blown it. Well, I was doing everything in my power to not show the sword that you were saying that I was wielding. I got your sword. Zip. Oh no! Show is done. Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
In addition to having a sword, of being a sword in the darkness, Eugene, tell people why they should listen
that's right.
to you.
Sword in the darkness stuff. I like that. Darkness.
The darkness. Tell them why they should listen to the words coming out of your mouth.
I've been a paid media professional since 1977, and from my work at Intel, Adobe, Nikon, Apple, Zip Davis, Future Publishing, to Ozzy, to running CFY Records, to doing PR and advertising for hither and yon startups during the dot-com era. I am a media PR genius non-pariah, up to and including working on my book, Fight, Everything Everyone Wants to Know About Asking, but afraid to get asked for asking. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. He didn't even mention Hustler. If I had Hustler in my
Hustler, my man is working for Hustler.
Instead, I worked for John Kerry, Mark Warner, multiple political campaigns from the dog catcher all the way to the presidential level, plus lots of Fortune 500 consulting, crisis communications, etc., etc. On with the show.
Yes, and I'm Alexi, your host.
He just did Yul Brenner. If you didn't catch that, that was pretty good.
And I'm
Yul Brenner.
Yeah. Ah, there we go.
Etc.
And I'm Alexi Ald, your host. I'm an author, an attorney, a consultant. I've been helping people with PR kerfuffles, much like the one I engaged in earlier in the show with screwing up the name of Eugene's book. But that's why Eugene's here, to correct me and let everybody know what the deal is with that. So I've been providing advice, guidance, and help to individuals, organizations, corporations, and that's what brings us all together for this special Game of Thrones edition of If I Did It.
Oh,
now,
man.
Eugene.
We're letting him run wild with his nerdism, but...
There we go. Come on, that's what it's all about. You know what?
No, it's
representing
been a tough, creepy
subculture like
week.
MMA. There's, the nerdisms. It's just, it's all love, man.
But you know what? Nobody ever called me a nerd. You know why? Because they always thought I was a fucking big dummy because I was big, and maybe a dummy. But then the test would come back, and people would be like, "What? Hey, what? Hey." Did you cheat? Who'd you cheat off of? I didn't cheat off anybody, buddy.
So inside, were you like hankering to be called a nerd? Or were you like, I'm a nerd too, please believe me?
No, I did all the nerd things. I was in the comic books. I was in the martial arts. I was into music at a time when
You weren't into Dungeons and Dragons. Don't even try to pretend.
Yeah, I had my roommate, and everybody in the trailer would be full of these guys, and they go, Eugene, you want to play? I go, does the game involve pussy? They're like, nah. I go, okay, good luck. I'll see you later.
Which is a perfect segue. You're Conor McGregor. After a year of boasting and enjoying the high life, winter is coming. Chael Sonnen claims your recent reflections on Ronda's loss provided the framework of prepping the world for your inevitable loss to Jose Aldo this weekend. What PR moves can you make before the match to ensure that regardless of the outcome, you will emerge unbowed, unbent, and unbroken?
Well, you know what? It's funny you should mention that, man, because I was right in the middle of reading last night at band practice before I actually had to start practicing. I was right in the middle of reading the Wall Street Journal piece where he lays out that the headline was enough. Conor McGregor says he's losing his mind. And I go, that's an interesting bishop to queen move 7. He's losing his mind, really? So, and talking about the car he drives and, now allegations of financial mismanagement. This is creating what in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu we would call space. Space that allows you to escape through a loss, and moreover, I think it's bona fide and healthy, and mostly because it's honest. I mean, Jose Aldo did something interesting, and I believe he was genuinely hurt, but it played into his favor by delaying the first fight. I mean, Conor McGregor has been queued up for this for how fucking long? How long can you stay queued up for something? I mean, in bodybuilding, everybody was obsessed with the peak. When am I going to peak? You don't want to peak too soon because then you go into the contest looking deflated, and obviously peaking after doesn't help anybody. You want to peak at the right time, and keeping it to that right time has been tough with the pressures, and as well as he can say now he's laying the groundwork for, the Wall Street Journal. He's laying the groundwork for, going to have a meeting with the Baldwin and going, you know what, that $100 million stuff, boss, I don't know what I was thinking. I was just trying to fill the seats with asses. Right? I was just kidding, right? Because I'm crazy, right? You got it? Crazy. Fuck it. It's smart, and he continues to be smart, but Chael Sonnen has been on a tear lately, and I think he's righter than right. His comment about Judo Jean LaBelle, dangerous as it might be, and Bruce Lee had the ring of truth to it. What do all these people have in common? Los Angeles. Dream factory, where a man like Sorrell is needed. Crush those freaking dreams, man, and wake them up, smell some coffee, which is apparently what Holly Holmes has done.
What about you, Nate? What do you think about?
I think it's all fiddle-faddle until the fight. I don't think Conor can do anything this week that's going to impact the story that's already been told. He's shot his mouth off for well over a year. Eugene's point about the timing of this is a good one and kind of ominous for Conor McGregor fans. Conor has been begging for this fight, getting this fight, hyping this fight, talking about this fight, and now it's almost anticlimactic that he's finally got it within sight. All he can do is win, and anything else is bullshit.
Do you think it would have been better off than if the fight occurred when it was supposed to?
Yes, it would definitely have been better. Definitely would have been better for Conor if the fight had happened in the summer.
Despite the claim, the recent claim he's made that Jose Aldo was going to target his not so sturdy knee, and I was kind of surprised that he even said that. That seemed like he's going to play the ingenue. It's like coming between rounds and like, hey man, that guy tried to punch me in the face. Yeah. No, he tried to punch me in the face.
I don't think he likes you.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's like, come on, man. Oh, he's going to target the knee. Of course. I'm doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I tell a guy, my knuckle is busted. Be careful with my hand. He goes, yeah, sure. The bell rings. First thing he does to shake in my hand, he grinds the bones together.
Right.
This is the game. This is the nature. Like Lee Strasberg said in Godfather Part 2, this is the business we have chosen,
Speaking of business, Eugene, you're Jose Aldo. You've lost thousands of dollars in sponsorship money to the UFC's exclusive Reebok deal. Your heart and manhood have been repeatedly questioned by your employers, despite your historic dominance over a division that was created for you. Instead of waiting for your return, the UFC gifted an interim belt to their golden boy. Yeah. Rumors have now surfaced that win or lose, you will retire after this weekend's match. Mm-hmm. You've denied the rumors, but given your opponent's $100 million meme, the jungle might be calling for you to win. Yeah. Despite this, if you emerge victorious, Jose, do you respond with fire and blood?
No. You know what? I don't think, you spend enough time around Brazilians, and you realize that these are the Italians of South America, and I think that he's leading with his heart, and I don't think there's anything other than genuine. And, hey, listen, I mean, it's the Achilles syndrome, man, and A-list performers always have it. I was in my bleeding. BLEATING, bleeding in my boss's office yesterday about how I deserve better, God damn it. And he just kind of sighed and looked down because it's like, that's the kind of crap you got to hear from the A-list guys, and they wouldn't be A-list guys if they weren't fucking throwing tantrums like that, if it's not a Joe Montana, like, what the fuck are you doing, Bill Walsh? Don't you know who I am? You know, I mean, I think he's genuinely hurt, you know, and as well he should be, man. It's like, you know, the UFC's and the bald ones, you know, reversal of positions on him has been sort of surprising and not super supportive. And if I was Brazilian, I would feel justified in feeling that there was some kind of conspiratorial, you know. I mean, come on, you know, you created it for me. I'm here. I've done everything you wanted. What the fuck is this about? Like, who the fuck is? Why don't you even have this guy fight people in the division who are legitimate? He talked his way into a good fight. At least Chael Sonnen actually had bona fides, you know.
What about you, Nate?
Well, I think Aldo's problem is he was supposed to carry the torch for Anderson Silva and Vitor Belfort and be a new Brazilian star. Remember the Brazilian event he headlined where he ran into the crowd and they were hyping that up? Instead, he's presided over an era of plummeting ratings on Globo TV in Brazil. The UFC's like, dude, used up. You are. Like, we've wrung this washcloth. We got what we're going to get from you. You see how we treat GSP when we're done with him? You see how we treat John Jones when he's got a little hiccup in his career? You are fungible. You are out of here. Like, the message has been given. So Aldo is in a position where he needs to win this fight. That's the number one PR thing. He needs to put a beating on the Golden Boy. I mean, he needs to humiliate Conor McGregor and get his name over. He can make his name big, big, big by smashing Conor McGregor. He can establish himself as one of the all-time greats. If he loses, he's like, what, the 8th most popular Brazilian in UFC history? Right. I mean, you know,
yeah,
it's
but
all
I'm not going to put that shit on him, though. I mean, I really am not going to put that shit on him.
I was bigger than him, but I mean, you know, it's the cards he was.
But what do you do, though? Here's the thing: is you have a situation where if he wins, if he does win, which most people think he will, if he wins and destroys, he has his platform after the fight. What does he do?
What does he do?
I
mean, if he wins,
just, you know, hey, it's great. You know, I'm retiring. I put my gloves in the ring.
He jumps on the fence. He waves his flag around. He wipes his ass with the Irish flag. I mean, he lives it up. You know, if he wins, it's all his. Put the head on a plate. Bring it to me.
But it seems like you're suggesting a couple of different things. It seems like you're suggesting that.
I'm suggesting one thing: win the fight.
Yeah, but then I mean, is that going to bump him up from the 8th most popular Brazilian fighter?
Yes, it will. It will establish his legacy. This is by far the biggest fight he's ever been in, and what I'm saying is he needs to win big. He needs to win like he beat Cub Swanson back in the day. He does not need to win like he beat Mark Hominick, where he, you know, beats a hematoma on the guy's head the size of a football and then spends the 5th round laying on his back with his legs wrapped around the dude getting pummeled. I mean, if
he was doing fight math then. He was like, I beat the guy 4 fucking rounds. I'm going to give him a little dignity and let him get his back up for the 5th round. I didn't see that as anything other than
Conor McGregor. If he does that, the judges could give Conor the fight. Conor will be talking
Conor's
shit.
not. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I got confused.
You say I was right?
Yeah, I know. I got confused about the fight being in Las Vegas. Like, even if Conor McGregor is down 4 rounds and he has a valiant showing the 5th round, you know, it's like the tricks rabbit going like this. Who knows what those judges will do? I mean, Jesus Christ. And if Cecil Peoples is anywhere near the event, then all bets are correctly off, you know.
Well, one person who will be near the event is Dana White.
The bald one.
Yes. And Eugene, heavyweight boxing champion Tyson Fury blasted MMA as a sport for people who can't box. He issued a challenge to, quote, unify and switch. I don't know what the switch means, but unify and switch by fighting the UFC heavyweight champion in a stand-up fight or a hybrid rules match. He is the Fury. Do you tell him that the UFC does not sell and ignore him? Do you dispatch current UFC heavyweight champion Fabricio Verdum to get the job done? Or do you hold out until a great Dana White hope emerges to defend the honor of your sport?
No, in my mind, you fucking ignore this completely. I mean, it's like, you know, Fury, really? Okay, between the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, IBC, who the fuck is the fucking heavyweight champion? Who the fuck is Tyson Fury? I don't know who the legitimate undisputed heavyweight champ of anything is. I mean, you know, boxing, you know, this is like the guy at the porno theater telling me at the quarter movie theater I gotta clean up my act. It's like, get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? You know, He's gonna. I mean, he wouldn't be making these claims if MMA wasn't the best looking chick on the block. Get the fuck, go beat it. You know, if I'm the bald one, I correctly keep ignoring this nobody. You know,
what about
I'm more entertained by the guy who keeps chasing Klitschko around and what's his catchphrase? Something champ.
Wherever you at, I'm at. Like whatever you eat, I eat.
That's right. But he's got a catch.
I'm taking the shit too.
That's right. What does he say? He's like, come out me champ, or come out something. I can't. Whatever. You know, it's great. But this Tyson Fury thing, it's like you beat a depleted old man, and now you're trying to fucking return it. Because who is he gonna fight? Who's he gonna fight that you know about, and you're in the business?
That's a good point. What about you, Nate? What do you think?
I agree. I mean, Tyson Fury, he beat Klitschko, and thank God somebody finally put that old horse out to pasture. I mean, but it was just as boring as any Klitschko fight, and the pre-fight chatter was mildly entertaining. The post-fight chatter has been mildly entertaining. The fight itself was tedious. There's nobody on the rise in that heavyweight in boxing. Dana's right to just leave this guy alone. He's a nobody, essentially. He's got a little pull in the British Isles. The UFC's not even pushing it in the British Isles right now. So,
if they
do decide to go back to the British Isles, though, they could get some mileage out of this.
Though I'm curious about what kind of hybrid rules he's suggesting. Is he suggesting the Art Jimerson rule? What is he suggesting precisely?
It could be like Bob Sapp and Akabano's rematch at Ryzen this New Year's Eve. They're apparently doing shoot boxing rules, which I've never been clear on. But
Bob Sapp?
You know it.
That's all the people need to know to be going.
The crimson cover. Just watch out. It looks like it's going to hurt, so I'm just gonna collect my paycheck. But the interesting thing about the hybrid rules thing is years ago, they were actually based. I mean, the rumors that we don't know how far the negotiations went, but Vince McMahon and Dana White were apparently going to negotiate a fight, different fights. One was Brock Lesnar when he was with the WWE versus Lennox Lewis, and another was like either Kurt Angle or Brock Lesnar against Lennox Lewis, and they were talking about that whole hybrid rules. Like, is it a situation where it's going to be one round stand up and the next round on the ground? Is it a situation where they're going to, certain things are banned or you get lifted up after a certain period of time? So, I've never seen this really go anywhere. There's always been talk about hybrid rules.
You know what? I'm not having worked in pornography. I'm not a big fan of pornography. But the type of pornography I find least exciting is actually girl-on-girl porn, as I've been noted to say before, because then you have two people faking it. I mean, at least when it's guy-girl porn, only the girl is faking it, So this is the kind of thing when Vince McMahon and the Baldwin get together and they start talking about, you got two people fucking faking it. I'm just not even listening. And besides that, no serious person is. This is for the 13 to 16, Star Wars, Dungeons and Dragons demographic.
Game of Thrones, hey!
Game of Thrones, who might be compelled to fucking, get off a line from the Star Wars film.
Ali back in the day, you had Ali versus Inoki, and there was a situation where, Ali didn't know that Inoki was going to kick the shit out of his shins for a certain number of rounds, And Inoki milked that shit. Like for decades, like I went up against Ali, and like he never has gotten, so it's that kind of shine I think that they were looking to try to get.
Except I watched that fight, and when it happened, and I remember thinking, because I was all into Masayama and the guy who chopped the horn off of a live bull and all that stuff. I thought it was gonna be, and it was super disappointing. I felt much like Muhammad Ali. It's like, what is this? It didn't appear to be any discernible martial art to me, like laying on the ground and kicking a guy's leg. It didn't really.
And yet,
on the streets of Brooklyn, that would have had somebody jumping on your face and kicking your head till you stop moving. So.
But apparently it did serious long-term damage to Ali. Destroyed the blood vessels in his legs and jacked him up and set him up for losing his spinks and the whole bit. But nevertheless.
But here's the thing: you talk about jacking up and kicks. Nate, you're on to Rousey. ESPN magazine did a major feature on you, in which you said you started seeing Travis Brown in April. In May, he was on the MMA Hour telling Ariel Helwani how much he loved his then wife. Now the ex-Mrs. Travis has taken to Twitter blasting you for hugging her after his Arlovsky fight while you were sleeping with her husband.
You know, this is one of those things like Ted Bundy. One of the books about Ted Bundy was written by Ann Rule, who's a crime writer, but she also worked with him at a suicide prevention hotline.
Yeah.
And she thought Ted was great. She thought he was one of the most empathetic, feeling,
Charming
people on the suicide hotline, and she believed he was innocent all the way to the very end.
till he told her.
No, it was the physical evidence, which has since kind of been discredited, but at the time, bite mark evidence was seen as nearly as good as fingerprints. And they presented, bite mark after bite mark after bite mark in the corpses of these girls. And Bundy turns around to her and goes,
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's what for me,
I think
that's
that's
when
where Rhonda is.
What he told her, yeah.
With this Travis Brown thing is she's been caught man poaching, and what are you gonna do?
Well,
Sorry,
okay.
ladies.
First of all, it's not like dude fighters haven't done this plenty of time.
Right.
But dude fighters, who gives a fuck? Is there any? I mean, there's not been a dude fighter who's been held up as the darling of the sport. Am I wrong? Has it? Even Randy Couture, multiply divorced Randy Couture. No, none of these guys have been held up as the darling. There's been
They
no.
tried to do it. They tried to do it with
in his race
GSP.
car
Yeah.
bed?
They tried to do it with GSP, but that shit didn't work. Nobody believed that for a second. So she created the standard. It's not like, the patriarchy. No, she created a standard, and much like my porn star friend Olivia, who guys would come up to her and go, "Are those real? 58 double G's, are they real?" And she just look at them and go, "They're as real as you want them to be." Rhonda was like, the patriarchy didn't force her to do that. It was a narrative that was being spieled out there. She was like, it's as real as you want it to be. Yes, I'm America's darling. Great. Give me a check,
Well, that's what's so weird also about the ESPN article is you see it's one thing to hear or read, quotes and excerpts of analysis, but they actually did the photo shoot where they're like all hugging up and
Yeah, boy,
Well,
and also, first of all, I'm not holding her blameless for this. I'm saying, male fighters do this, probably do this shit all the time. However, you gotta know if it's happening to a male fighter, somebody's leaving that room bloodied. And if you're in South America, it might be a little bit worse than that, So
what if it's a male fighter stealing a male's not, a guy who's not a fighter? Like, what's the non-fighter supposed to do? Travis Brown's wife isn't a fighter.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, too. It violates a sense of fair play. It can't even be a head-to-head competition. Rhonda seems like a terror, she could have been screwing the guy's wife and just stayed away. This is like
Could have been screwing the guy's wife. Now, that would have been a situation.
Screwing the guy and stayed away from the wife. This is like Nabokov. I don't know if you ever read that book, Laughter in the Dark. This is Nabokov, Laughter in the Dark, where the guy goes blind, has some terrible accident and goes blind, and his wife moves her lover into the house. and they're creeping around the house, making fun of the guy, and like he goes, "Hey, honey, I swear to God somebody's here." And she's like, "No, there's nobody here. It's just me and you." It's just like, it seems like an extra added dollop of creepy, weird sadism, which I love.
Speaking of loving, Eugene, you're Sage Northcutt. Your opponent, Cody Feister, told Bloody Elbow that your repeated drug testing and physique raises questions about steroid usage.
No.
How can you convince the world that you are clean and just growing strong?
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. I'm the first to cry conspiracy for a lot, and I have more than a passing, past history with steroids and performance-enhancing drugs. And I have to say, remembering what it's like when puberty hit, for me, up to and including from the age of 5, and I was lifting weights from when I was 9. So I had a control group. So then I hit 14 and 15 and start to actually pack on muscle. So from 14 to 18, I have to say that the things I did physically were easily on par with the things I did in my late 30s when I went on steroids for the first time. So you might make these claims that the guy's unnatural, but how old is this kid?
19.
This is the prime. His body is producing. He is physically where men in their late 30s are trying to get back to naturally. So yeah, sure, he could be taking something. His father's made some weird moves lately, but you want to know an earmark of a guy who's juicing when he fights? He's got no freaking cardio because the muscles have grown and there's a whole vascular network that hasn't grown to feed them, so you're kind of in permanent oxygen debt. Case in point, a Mark Coleman. So if I want to look for a guy who's on steroids, unless he's like who's a Canadian runner?
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. Unless you're specifically training running while you're on steroids, I mean, typically your cardio is terrible. You have to really, really focus on it. Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility, but I'm not. The guy's 19. I'm not seeing it.
So stick on the I'm young and everything. So what about you?
I'm not seeing puffiness under the nipples. I'm not seeing much of anything that seems to indicate. I mean, I have more reason to think that about GSP than I do about steroids.
So what do you think, Nate? How do you think he should handle it?
Innocent until proven guilty. He does not address the bullshit. He just proves it in the cage. He leaves it alone. He definitely doesn't want to start stuff up because it came out recently. It's documented as his dad has had some troubles with both steroids and cocaine, getting arrested for them. So, the family's got some history with the stuff. Stay away from it. Don't use it, and don't talk about it. No need to address the issue. Just keep talking yourself up. Keep doing 360-degree flips and amazing video tricks and win the fight big. Nobody's going to care about Cody Pfister or what he said in 2 weeks.
But people do care about Holly Holm.
Yes.
Oh my
and
God.
So your sponsor, Intel Pharma, sells selective androgen receptor modulators, SARMs, considered steroid alternatives and on WADA's banned substance list. Get that, Johnny Hendricks, WADA, not VADA. Your manager stated, quote, Holly didn't really use them, so it's not a big deal.
He didn't say, no, Mr. Lawyer, he didn't say she didn't really use them. He said she didn't use them.
I'm sure she didn't use any of them.
Alexis' face when Eugene called him Mr. Lawyer.
Mr. Lawyer, oh.
Anyway, go ahead.
He's like, oh. She might have taken a picture with one, end quote. Now rumors are circulating that she roided before UFC 193. How do you preserve family, duty, and honor, Nate as Holly, while handling these multi-pronged attacks?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Said, Nate,
you just
I'm talking to you.
You do the Albuquerque Parade, you do The View, you do Jimmy Fallon, you don't touch this stuff, you don't talk about this stuff. Same deal as Sage Northcutt. Until you fail a drug test, you are clean as a whistle. That is the ethic, that is the rule. We can't report on anything until she's busted. All the videos on YouTube are just conspiracy theory nonsense that don't even convince Eugene. That's where I got to say, it's just move on.
So what about you, Eugene? Like I gave you a tie-in to your phenomenal Knuckle Up show, and
Well, I mean, I watched the video. I watched the video, and I'm sorry to have to keep dragging it back to the gutter, but do you remember there was this porn, one of the first few celebrity porns, not the Tonya Harding one or the Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee one, but who was this professional wrestler chick?
China?
A Night in China is what it was called, and people were like, "Oh my God, what is that thing between her legs? That is the longest clitoris I've ever seen." So dummies were trying to make the allegation that maybe she was some kind of pre-op or maybe there's a transgender thing. And, people said, look at her. She's 225 pounds. She can bench three freaking wheels. What do you think? So this video about Holly's physique and then ending with some, Zapruder-esque take close up on her vulva from the weigh-ins that could have been easily photoshopped or something. Right. It's like, get the bad. I'm not even buying any of that. Yeah, she's carrying no body weight at all, but she didn't fight like somebody who was taking steroids and moreover, I mean, her face is, she's either been on for a long time, I mean, what you can tell, they call it a cycle. So if you're paying attention to somebody long enough, and these people are photographed a lot, you can see. Sometimes they show up with puffy nipples. Sometimes they don't show up with puffy nipples. Sometimes, I mean, there's a variation, and they're estrogen blockers. There are lots of things that women can take. I'm supposed to be doing some research to see about the effects that birth control pills have on, I'm not buying it. Besides which, she didn't do anything in that cage against Ronda that was strength related. You know. Oh, what about the strength of her punches? That 65-year-old guy who used to be my boxing trainer, who got annoyed with me that time and said, "Hey, let me show you something," and punched me in the midsection. What did he do to get there? Nothing. He smoked a few cigarettes.
Old man Strump.
Yeah. So I'm not buying it. It's you know, cry to somebody else. You Ronda nut jumpers. I'm not having it. Romans, countrymen.
Send forth the curveball, Eugene.
Yes.
You're an alligator.
Okay.
Your cousin decided to help the humans by eating an alleged burglar who was hiding out from the human police.
Love it.
Your cousin thought he was doing a good thing. But when the humans found the body of the burglar next to Cuz, did they give him a parade? A key to the city? Free dental care? Nope, they killed him. Yeah. They split open his body and found the rest of the burglar. They didn't even apologize or create a statue in his honor. Yeah. How can you spin this to prevent good old-fashioned gator justice?
Well, you know, I used to date this biologist, and I asked her, I said, you know, what's the deal with reptiles? Yeah, these conversations always took a turn for the weird because she was always disappearing for weeks at a time in swamps. And I go, how come reptiles have no personalities? She goes, personalities are a mammalian adaptation that comes from living in social groupings, so you can distinguish one from the other. You know, reptiles are pretty freaking solitary. I said, nah, I see tons of alligators when I go to Florida. They go, yeah, but they're not hanging out together. They're just in the same place. It's different. Now I've talked to my sister had a lizard for years. Said, this thing had a personality. I go, if I watch a rock long enough, it'll probably display signs of personality. But you know, I mean, so in other words, the reason that you might kill a bear or a lion, oh, it's developed a taste for human flesh. It just doesn't fucking work with alligators. It just, you know, something moves, they bite it, figure it out later and eat it. But you know, humans are strange. So.
What about you, Nate? What kind of spin do you give?
There's no spin to give. Alligators aren't endangered. It's open season for hunting them, make shoes out of them. They wanted to find the rest of the guy's body. That's why they killed the alligator. It wasn't anything to do with, oh, we got to save, you know, keep the swamp safe. It's like, we're looking for dude. We think dude is in the belly of the beast here.
Like he went somewhere without the other half of his body. I got it.
You still got to know.
I'll leave my torso here, and my legs will be free.
You know how corners are. Corners are extremely literal-minded. If you think tech support is literal-minded, talk to a corner. These guys want to see evidence. They want to see facts.
I guess the top half of his body wasn't enough.
They want to know where the bottom half was. They figured it out.
This is Florida, land of the apes, however, right? So where are you going to go with that? And I'd like to say, speaking of apes, I'd like to say, you know, I feel really bad about this. I don't even know if I should be standing up and saying, I told you so. But I've been getting lots of emails about Tim Kennedy and his Hunting for Hitler documentary and him essentially supporting my position that there was a submarine escape from Spain to Argentina. Otto Skorzeny flew Hitler to Barcelona before the war ended. The double was killed and buried in the hole. The body, skull of the woman is now, you know, he's just a. But this is how they do you. This is how they do you. You know,
and especially you. That's how they do you, Eugene.
Yeah, that's how they do me.
Having Tim Kennedy host the show had to be the extra salt in the wound.
You know,
if you got to know him, I think you guys should have a lot in common. You're both, you know, gun nuts.
Well, you guys should have a show together.
Hold on. I don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I see. You're both concealed carry enthusiasts.
I do not know what you're talking about.
Well, since no one knows what they're talking about, the teachable moment. You're running for office in a district that fears Syrian refugees. You've watched Democratic Mayor of Roanoke, David Bowers, request that all government and non-governmental organizations in his city suspend any assistance to Syrian refugees until the serious hostilities and atrocities end. 2, erroneously draw comparisons to FDR interning Japanese foreign nationals during World War II as justification. 3, get lambasted in the press And 4, removed from Democratic presidential frontrunner Hillary Clinton's Virginia Leadership Council. You witnessed all this. You are aware that the last time the government sequestered a population based on similar fears, it ended up apologizing and providing financial payments in 1988 to survivors totaling $1.25 billion. Who agreed to this? A Democratic Congress and Republican presidential icon, Ronald Reagan, who called the internment, quote, a sad chapter in American history. How do you spin this issue, Eugene, in a Trump-infested district without engaging in political or historical suicide?
I don't. You know what? First of all, let me. It came up at band practice last night, and I had a room full of heaving musicians. And I go, you know what? Let me say something about Trump right now that I think. I am not focused on Trump in the slightest bit right now because much like Colonel Kurtz, Jeb Bush is out there operating beyond any reasonable control, and I can't rest until he drops out. He's like, oh, he's finished. He's at 3%. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I can't rest. I can't rest. Trump is the anti-Bush, and as first of all, I'm happy that he exists because I want the raw, Nate put it on his page today, I want the raw, naked face of this party to be on display for all of America. It's been coded since the Southern strategy. I like the fact that now we're getting into real politics. They're calling it like they're seeing it. They're cheering this guy at rallies. I like it. I like it because now there's no compassionate conservatism. There's none of that, those lies except Bush's dun 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 dun, like Jaws out there in the ocean. So I'll focus on Trump after Bush leaves the race. Right now, I can't focus on anything else. So I'm sorry, whatever your point was.
Oh wow. Okay. So what about you, Nate? Can you focus?
The thing about that comparison, the guy got in trouble because he's a Democrat. Had he been a Republican and said that stuff, nobody would have cared. The Republican National Committee wouldn't have cracked down on him, nothing. The Democrat was in a tough spot, and that's been the problem with Democrats in the South, white Democrats in the South, is that they're trying to please two masters, and they're being Republican light, and you just can't, like Eugene said, Trump's calling bullshit on it. It's like it's out in the open. We're a racist party. They're openly National Front-style fascist racist party at this point, and the Bushes and the Rubios are trying to say, hey, no, not really. Let's stick to the code word, guys. But they're not. Genie's out of the bottle. You can't put him back in. And from this point on, it's just a matter of your conscience and what, how you feel about yourself in history. Like, am I going to be a good person and do the right thing, or am I going to go with the forces of madness and the forces of demagoguery and go for the moment? The thing about mobs is they turn on a dime. Like, if you read Roman history, one day the mob was for the plebeians, the next day the mob was for the patricians, just like a rampaging storm. If you put your faith in the mob, they'll be coming back for you in the end.
This is what some guy was really outraged about the knuckle up. He was like, man, this was the best knuckle up ever till the last 5 minutes. How you're really in a fundamental philosophical
He wanted to see
way.
you in a bunker like you and Newton, Eugene.
Yeah, exactly. He was really disappointed. He was like, how could you side with the boot? I was like, how could I side with the boot? Go to Walmart on Saturday at noon, and you look around you, and you tell me if you're going to put your money on that horse. Come on. The mob, I trust the mob. Last time I wanted to trust the mob was July 14th, 17th, whatever there was, Bastille Day. The mob did pretty good that day. Outside of that, I'm not impressed with them at football games. I'm not impressed with them at Walmart, and I'm certainly not impressed with them up against the power of the boot. So I'll just stand over here while the boot does what it does. I'm not helping the little guy. I'm not catching any bullets. I'm just waiting for it to wash over. Like John Malkovich in Empire's His Son, I'm a British officer. Japanese guy stoves his head in. After you ask him to pick up the rock, Malkovich jumps out of the car. The soldier goes, no, I'm okay. Malkovich looks at him like, and he picks up the rock. I'm playing along, buddy. I'm playing along. Until such time as I can get my hand on the rock, and then things will change. But until then, I'm not taking any fucking bullets.
And a great segue into the Lost Battalion. Eugene.
And now there's a phantom toll booth.
That's right. Can you explain let let's first go with the Lost Battalion, since there's only one candidate this week that you kind of already mentioned, Donald Trump. Is he in the Lost Battalion?
Fuck no. No, not at all.
He's not.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, part of what qualifies you for the Lost Battalion is, is your lack of awareness. If Trump is standing up and saying stuff like, it's like, I mean, we got to go back to the original, the most famous inductee previous, Junior Dos Santos, where after the second time that he was just destroyed by Cain Velasquez, he's like, well, when we meet up again, and everybody in his corner, including, just kind of go, you're not meeting up again, Jack. Everybody sees it but you. He is out there in the sand dunes like this. When we meet up again, no, you're not meeting up again.
You don't think Trump is out there, like,
no.
He thinks he has a chance? Like, you think, is he the Manchurian candidate in there to disrupt things for the Democratic victory?
No, when 68% of the people say they're going to follow him if he doesn't get the Republican nomination, that's a Lost Battalion is composed of lost individuals. These are people who have clearly found their way. Nah, he's not Lost Battalion. No way.
Yeah, he's planning a third-party run, and this is all this attention-getting gambit anyway. I don't think he ever expected to be doing this well, and he's just feeding the crowd and enjoying it. He's definitely not Lost Battalion. Jeb Bush, definitely Lost Battalion. Donald Trump, not Lost Battalion.
But did you see that Jeb Bush commercial, though?
I'm nervous about the Bush.
Yeah, you're old, Eugene.
That Jeb Bush commercial, though, did you see that one that he wheeled out a day or two ago, where it was the Oval Office, and he's like, who do you trust when the attacks come? Who do you trust? And they had Donald Trump, someone who flies off the handle.
Every time Jeb Bush does that, you just see 9/11 happening. I mean, we saw what happened when we put his brother in office. He slept on the job. 9/11 happened. He was warned. He did nothing. Every time Jeb brings that shit up, everybody goes, we saw what a dumbass your brother was, and you've got the exact same foreign policy team that he had. Like, Bush.
You're just 15 years older.
Yeah, Bush is done.
Well, what about the Phantom Toll Booth, Eugene? Can you tell those people who didn't?
Yeah, the Phantom Toll Booth are all those guys on the who were cares on that last Don't Care cavalcade, who they just kind of call up and kind of go, hey man, you kind of want to fight? And yeah. I mean, you're an American fighter. You're being dragged into Brazil to fight. You're not expected to win. You were just sitting around in some ghostly state, and the phone rang, and you're like, this is no. There's no illusion here in the Phantom Toll Booth. There's nothing but maybe the occasional ring of a phone. It's completely like Eugene Ionesco or the Waiting for Godot. There's nothing. It's one of the most dire places to be, which is why most people never make it through Dante's. They never make it to a Divine Comedy. They read the Inferno, they get to Purgatorio, and it's like, it's nowhere, man. So who's in the Phantom Toll Booth? Well, let's ask it another way. How many fighters are on the UFC roster? I could get the Phantom Toll Booth. The Lost Battalion is a special squad. Not that many people in the Lost Battalion. Lots of people in that Phantom Toll Booth. Ebersol. What about Ebersol? Huh? What do you think he's doing right now? Hey, they had a fight in Australia. They didn't even drag him out of the sticks for that. Hey, you guys. Hey, Joe. Hey, I'm over here, Joe. Shelby, Sean. Hey, buddy. No. Okay. I'll just wait.
Was that
the candidates that are? What?
Was that his Ben Carson impression?
No. That was my Brian Ebersol impression. It's a fucked up place to be, man. And if you're in the Phantom Toll Booth in real life, I mean, most of us have the experience of being in the Phantom Toll Booth in a romantic context. When the woman, she's got no real intention of, it's not even the friend zone. Because the friend zone, you might benefit from her having a bad night and she like throws you a bone, And to keep in mind, this is only between the ages of 18 and 25. After that, it becomes a guy's game. But before that, men are suffering because of being dummies. But so it's like, if you're in that toll booth, man, it's just you're not even a friend. You got no chance. You're just It's a terrible place to be. I was deeply scarred by my time in various Phantom Tollables. Believe me.
Man, I feel depressed just hearing about it, man.
That's what Knuckle Up does, baby. If you don't leave that show sad, I'm doing things wrong.
That's a good motto for it, man.
Or like Dave, I said it to David Yao once, and he looks at me and goes, "What is wrong with you black people?"
Oh, David Yao. Ouch, ouch. Are you mad that David Yao got the flipper gig instead of you, Eugene?
No. I went. We were hanging out when they played San Francisco, and I went, and I was like, I remember seeing Flipper back in the day, and there's another band that I said, those guys are never gonna make it. They just suck. But you know what? Flipper on record and Flipper live at the time, it was actually pretty genius, and I have to admit. Now I love Yao and I love what he did, but man, it's just hard to see the guys in Flipper now. You get to see the wages of all that high life.
And low life.
The bass player, not Steve DePace is a drummer. I forget who the original. I guess the original bass.
The bass players are dead. Bruce Luce and whatever.
No, there's the other cat who was because they always used to switch instruments. There's another guy from the beginning who was still there. Actually, it's like 3 guys who are still there.
I thought both of the singers were dead.
Yeah, both the singers were dead, but and if
it was a 4-piece and there were 2 singers and they traded off bass.
Yeah, right. And if you count,
Shattered died and Bruce Luce died. So.
Yeah, so those guys are dead. Who's still in the band? Ted is
Falcone, the guitarist, and then the drummer.
Steve DePace.
Yeah.
But the other guy who's on bass.
Bruno de Smartass was not an original member of the band.
No, he was not an original member, but he's been there a long time.
Yeah, he's been there since like Shatter died. I think.
And he was doing all this kind of mugging and kind of goofball shit, and I was just like, man, you gotta age with your music, and this shit is unseemly. I was disappointed in him, but and Falcone looks like, all that. He used to be like the handsome Adonis, and there's an old man with gray dreads now. It was kind of, I don't know, man. Look at say what you want about John Lydon, but that dude looks all right. He's kept up, maybe doing some push-ups, jumping rope, keeping in shape.
All right. Well, that's our show. So remember, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Eugene, show me how it's done.
Thumbs up, baby.
Yes. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube, which we might be switching to Bloody Elbow, but it'll still be at MMANation.com on YouTube. Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes, and you can hear us without seeing our ugly faces. Follow us on Twitter at KidNate, at Eugene S. Robinson, at Alexi Ald. I saw that when I said ugly faces, Alexi. No much.
It's a little extra for those people who are watching and they can see the different expressions and reactions to things,
Yeah.
I just want to give a little extra for them.
A little treat for the visual
audience.
A little treat. Read us. Read me at BloodyElbow.com. Read Eugene at Aussie.com. Sometimes Vices Fightland. Read Alexi Ald at AlexiOld.com. And check out his book collection on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Any other plugs I'm
Christmas
forgetting?
is coming up. We're in the middle of Hanukkah right now. Buy our stuff.
It's what, the 3rd day of Hanukkah? That's not the middle.
Do I have to come right out and say it? Give us some money.
Or dreidel or geld, any of that.
Yep,
We'll take it.
any of that.
We'll take it. The one thing I miss about being married to a Jewish woman was we used to get the Hanukkah package in the mail every year, and it was always a treat to get the dreidels and the Hanukkah geld. Anyway, so that's our show. We'll be back next week. We don't know what we'll be talking about because the mistakes have yet to be made. And adios, MMA aficionados.
All right, man.
All right.